might considerably increase body size. Brother Simon, Yelena said in a pinched voice, her tone saccharine and affected. Simon shuddered from head to tail in revulsion. Just say whatever you want directly. Don't talk like that. Simon took 2 steps back. He had been planning to train but had no choice but to temporarily give up. I'll give you half of this sheep, and you let me play with the gold coin for a while, okay? Yelena dragged the sheep she had hunted and said tentatively, as a dragon, the love of treasure was etched into their very bones. Even hatchlings were no exception. But right now, these hatchlings had no way of obtaining treasure. The only channel was through Dragon Mother Anna's rewards, but everyone knew how greedy dragons were by nature. Anna had previously produced 1 gold coin as the prize for the hunting contest, and that was already enough to pain her greatly. It was unlikely she would ever do so again. If Yelena wanted gold coins, barring any unexpected turns, she would just have to wait until she grew up, and after being driven out of Dragon Mother Anna's territory, plunder them herself from other intelligent beings. All right. Simon hesitated briefly and then nodded in agreement. He was very fond of gold coins, but hadn't yet reached the level of greed typical of full-grown dragons. When all was said and done, Simon's soul was still human, and he could suppress his own desires. By lending out 1 gold coin for his sister to play with for a while, he would get half a sheep for free. That was a windfall if ever there was one. Simon turned around and dug up the gold coin he had buried in the ground and handed it to Yelena. Yelena, having received the gold coin, was very true to her word and split half the sheep over to Simon. Simon wasn't particularly hungry and simply set the sheep aside for now. You can play with the coin for half a day, but give it back to me when I return from hunting tonight, Simon said matter-of-factly. Yeah, Yelena answered absently. She tossed the gold coin in her hand, while beginning to eat at the same time. Simon paid her no further attention and began training on his own. Push-ups. Running. None of these physical exercises had Simon neglected. Of course, none of them had Simon neglected. Of course, there was also the most important, flight. Due to his growing body size, Simon's strength had also grown increasingly powerful. When he spread his pair of dragon wings and beat them forcefully, a gale would whip up. With every beat of his wings, the gale grew more and more violent, and Simon's body gradually lifted off the ground. Yelena, who had been playing with the gold coin, stopped what she was doing and stared at Simon with an expression of disbelief. Simon learned to fly. Just yesterday, Yelena remembered Simon couldn't fly. He could at most glide for a short distance. Yet in just 1 day, Simon had already learned to fly. What a terrifying talent. Even Dragon Mother Anna furrowed her brow and stared intently at Simon. Simon's rate of growth was simply too fast. This made Anna feel a faint unease in her heart. Black dragons were a variety of dragon with little moral restraint. They had no regard for ethics, killing one's own parent, that sort of thing. Happened from time to time within the dragon clan, so most dragon mothers, after their young grew to a certain point, would drive them out of the territory. Once driven out of the territory, it simply meant the relationship was severed. The next time they met, if there was no conflict of interest, they might even chat pleasantly, but if interests were involved, even between a mother and her own offspring, 2 dragons would slaughter each other without a moment's hesitation. Now Anna was sensing a feeling of threat from her own eldest son. Black dragons were all greedy and self-serving. What if one day Simon set his eyes on her own horde? Anna could still suppress him easily right now, but at the rate Simon was growing at this outrageous pace, in just a few more days, he would likely start mastering magic. Simon had not inherited magic through his bloodline, but Anna had no way of knowing that. She had heard that other dragon mothers would rear their young for several months and only drive them away once they were large enough. But Anna knew that if Simon were given several months of stable development, by then forget about magic. His body size alone would be considerably larger than hers. Anna was starting to panic. The gaze she turned towards Simon. Forget magic. His body size alone would be considerably larger than hers. Anna was starting to panic. The gaze she turned towards Simon had, without her noticing, taken on a hint of wariness. Once Simon grows a little larger, drive him away. Keeping him around is simply too dangerous. Remember yesterday when Yelena attacked me? He was the one who instigated it. Simon is a child with a rebellious streak. He absolutely cannot be kept around long. Anna made up her mind, busily beating his wings. Repeatedly practicing flight in midair, Simon was completely unaware that his own mother had already decided to drive him away. Simon, who had only just learned to fly, still looked a little awkward in his movements. But that didn't matter. Once he became accustomed, Simon's flying form would become smooth and fluid. Calculating the time, it should be around 5 in the afternoon now. Simon turned his head and glanced at the sun that was nearly setting. Dragon Mom, I'm going hunting in the eastern forest. If the sun is set and I still haven't come back, remember to come rescue me. Simon hovered in midair and called out to Dragon Mother Anna. Who knew? Turns out you little one actually values your own life. Anna laughed. The wariness in her eyes rapidly faded, replaced by the tender affection a mother feels toward her dragon hatchling, before severing ties and driving them from the territory. Dragon mothers quite clearly still care deeply for their young. Go on, remember to come back early. Sure thing, Dragon Mom. Simon gave a slight nod, then beat his wings with force, and flew off toward the eastern forest. His flying speed was slow at first, but as Simon gradually grew accustomed to the feeling of flight, his speed picked up. Anna's territory was some distance away, and since Simon was not yet very familiar with flying, it took a full half-hour to reach the forest. The trees in the forest were too dense. Couldn't see anything. Better to fly down. With that, Simon descended and landed in the forest. Simon was already over 3 meters in size, and with his wings spread approached nearly 10 meters. A size like this in the eyes of ordinary wild animals, already counted as extremely fearsome in the eyes of ordinary wild animals. So the moment Simon landed, some smaller creatures nearby took one look, and immediately fled. Simon cast a glance at the small animals scattering in panic, and was in no rush, this time coming to the forest. Simon's goal was not simply to hunt. He wanted to challenge ferocious beasts, such as tigers, lions, leopards, and bears. These beasts were exceptionally fierce. Simon wanted to find out whether consuming these powerful creatures as a feast would yield even greater body size increases. He began walking through the forest, searching for traces of these fierce beasts, but found no clues whatsoever. Suddenly, a small light bulb flashed above Simon's head. A bold idea surfaced in his mind. I am a powerful dragon, a mighty predator. Why would I foolishly go searching for prey myself? Wouldn't it be simpler to just lure them out? Fierce beasts have keen noses. I can kill another animal and let the blood draw the fierce beasts out. I just need to hide in the shadows and pick out a worthy opponent. Besides, even if I can't beat one, I can just flap my wings and fly away. In the forest, a sheep was running forward, in a panic, fleeing for all it was worth, as if a demon were chasing it from behind. A demon there wasn't, but there was one wicked dragon. You run, I chase! You can't escape even with wings. Simon beat his wings and pounced, pinning the sheep to the ground. Then Simon bit down without hesitation, his enormous bite force easily snapping the sheep's neck. After killing the sheep, Simon didn't stop there. He gutted the sheep open. Blood mixed with the sheep's innards spilled across the ground. The smell of blood began spreading through the surrounding area. Simon quickly looked around urgently for a place to conceal himself. After a moment's thought, he flew up to the treetops. Fortunately, Simon wasn't particularly heavy yet. If he were given a little more growing time, his weight alone would be enough to crush the trees. Simon sat quietly in the treetop waiting for prey to come to him. As long as no one looked up, he would be absolutely undetectable. After the sheep died, the smell of blood spread quickly. In no time at all, a fox came wandering over. The fox was obviously very cautious when it spotted the sheep's carcass. It didn't rush straight over impulsively. The cunning fox kept observing the surroundings. After confirming there were no powerful and threatening creatures present, the fox began dragging the sheep to leave. Hey, no powerful and threatening creatures present. The fox began dragging the sheep to leave. You're taking my things away. How am I supposed to lure out strong enough prey then? Simon's brow furrowed, and he prepared to strike the fox down or scare it away. Just as he was about to make his move, a rustling came from the underbrush. 3 jackals emerged. They eyed the fox menacingly. The moment they appeared, they rapidly formed a battle plan. The 3 jackals spread out, forming a triangular encirclement. It was clear these 3 jackal brothers were close-knit and worked in perfect coordination. However, the fox appeared not to be crossing blades with the 3 jackal brothers for the first time. When the 3 jackals formed their encirclement, the fox immediately sat itself down on the spot. The jackal's trademark disemboweling attack had long been seen through by the fox. Every time a jackal stepped forward to launch an attack, it would be driven back by the fox. And since the fox was sitting on the ground, even if the 3 jackal brothers wanted to execute their disemboweling attack, there was no exposed target to strike. The fox was very cunning, and knew that with the 3 jackal brothers there, it had no way of making off with the sheep. This free lunch. And since the smell of blood was still spreading, more and more wild animals would be arriving shortly. The fox turned and bit off a whole leg of mutton, then burst through the 3 jackals' encirclement, and quickly disappeared. Simon, watching this scene from his hiding spot in the treetops, couldn't help but think, what a clever fox. After the fox fled, the 3 jackal brothers did not pursue, and began dividing up the sheep on the spot. But the good times didn't last. They hadn't been feasting for long, when a dark shadow shot out. A woo! One jackal let out a wail, and was sent flying directly by the dark shadow's impact. It fell to the ground without moving. One jackal down in an instant. The dark shadow moved again. Its speed was lightning fast, its strength overwhelming, before the remaining 2 jackals could react. The dark shadow struck out with another blow, slapping one more jackal dead on the spot. Then its body twisted, and its tail swung around and caught the only remaining jackal. The last jackal was sent flying by the tail, and slammed into a tree, but fortunately it didn't die from the blow. Whimpering, the jackal looked back at the dark shadow with lingering fear, and then bolted away in a flash.